What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm sitting here with Dustin Zimmerman, and we're recapping college football playoffs from this last week. We've stretched this out to this later Wednesday because of the fact that I was gone. I was in Tennessee, and we just didn't have a chance to record before I left. We actually also had a serious thing happen in New Orleans, and hopefully everybody that is okay and they can get rebuilding their lives because that was just such a crazy situation. And luckily it wasn't worse because it could have been much worse. So, but they did move that game, of course, in New Orleans back till the next day. So Georgia and Notre Dame played a day later. So we wouldn't have been able to make this video and get every game in. But now, of course, doing it so much later, we're going to be able to. We're going to be able to talk about these upcoming games that are actually going to be happening pretty soon here. And I'm excited. So this will come out the day before the Notre Dame Penn State game, so we'll be able to talk about that game and get kind of our thoughts on it, and hopefully we see eye to eye. Because if we don't, we'll talk about that on Thursday. But yeah,
Makes it more fun if we don't.
Oh yeah, I know. What else did I have to say? Just because we're just so far behind. I know that.
No, we're just recapping them, talk about big players, big plays, and then talking about both the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl, and give some predictions there, and look forward, I guess, to the Natty, because at that point, it's the only one that's going to be left anyways.
Yep. So let me pull up the screen. We'll talk about this game first. We'll recap them. They're not going to be necessarily in order. We're going to talk about number one first, and then number two, and on so on. None of them actually made the next round, so that was cool.
Yeah. Chalk the first round, anti-chalk the second round.
Exactly what me and Cam picked. Yeah. We are. It actually comes down to the Ohio State UT game, basically, on who's going to have the bracket correct. So
yeah.
But it's talking about this game. Oregon, they just did not come to play. It was just
no, they didn't.
The first, and I can tell you, it was 34-0.
Yeah,
like it was fast, and they went up by 21 points in about 6 minutes, I believe, and just came out and whooped them. That Ohio State did. I just wasn't ready for that. As you can see on the board,
apparently Oregon wasn't either.
No, yeah. As you can see on the board, though, the biggest thing that stands out to me, it actually just slaps me in the face, that minus 23 rushing.
Yeah, you got to remember in college, sacks count towards rushing yards.
Right, of course.
So it's kind of a misnomer. But regardless, you should not end up negative.
Well,
that is not a good thing.
The biggest problem was, and it was a big hit in the game in general, but Jordan James didn't play the whole game. He had 7 rushes in the first quarter for 14 yards, and he ended up being the leading rusher. Those negative yards you were talking about, 12 rushes by Dylan Gabriel, minus 43, so truly a net of 20 yards by this Oregon team just by running backs, but negative 43 yards out of Dylan Gabriel because he was sacked multiple times. That's something we will be talking about. Sacked 8 different times in this game. If you look up there, one of the guys that had a couple sacks is the defensive player of the game in Cody Simon. Cody Simon is completely underrated in general as a college football player. He's one of the best linebackers in the nation, but he just gets outshined by all the other guys on this Ohio State team.
Right.
He is the leading tackler and all this stuff. He actually had 11 tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss in this game.
And a pass deflection.
And a pass deflection. And he was just everywhere. And so that's why he was our defensive player of the game. There are some other guys I'd love to shout out, though. You always got to shout out JT and Jack. If you look at JT and Jack, they had 4 sacks and 5 tackles for loss.
Yep.
Oregon's whole team, 0 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. They just were getting beat up front. The offensive line for Ohio State was obviously playing really well. And this is the best roster in football. And that's why they are able to win this game and,
absolutely
most likely, and have the best chance to win the Natty of any team at this point. So,
how about Jeremiah Smith looking like the absolute number 1 overall pick if he was old enough?
There was a thing that Cam actually sent me today. It's like this class, I can't remember who the actual analyst was, but he's looking forward to all these later classes, you know? And he's like, oh, this class sucks. This class is great. And he's like, the class that Jeremiah Smith is in is the best class he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And I believe him. And I think that's 2027. or 2028 maybe. Yeah, freshman, sophomore. No, 2028. So
Oh.
one of the two. You can have these guys come out. So if they're juniors, they can come out as soon as they turn. They play their junior year. They're allowed to go to the NFL draft.
Yeah.
So the later drafts we'll be talking about with these guys. But Jeremiah Smith, 7 receptions, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns, just jumping over people. He only had a 45-yard long. And I say only because he had 187 total yards. That was not just because of one chunk play.
Yeah.
He was just beating them, pillar to post the whole game.
Oh, yeah.
The best play, one of the top tens of the week was him catching the ball on the corner route over two defenders and then the third defender behind him. He's a freak, dude.
Yeah.
He is Julio Jones-esque, and that he's a freshman.
He's what, 18, I guess?
18 years old. Yeah. Like it's insane to even think about. So he's very good. Emeka Ibuka, 5 for 72 and a touchdown. That's solid, but it's not what Jeremiah Smith was able to do in this game. I just mean he was crazy.
Well, don't forget Travion Henderson with 8 carries for 94 yards and 2 tuds.
And
3 catches.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Receiving.
Yeah, and he was receiving.
He had quite the game.
Quinshon Judkins also had a good game.
Oh yeah, 17 for 85 is still fantastic.
Yeah.
I know coming into the year, everyone was talking about him being one of the biggest transfers from Ole Miss, but everyone kind of forgot that Travion Henderson is still a very good running back that's already there.
Well, I was actually in the, kind of in the pool of like, is this a good thing for Travion Henderson when he decided to transfer?
Yeah.
And then Travion didn't decide to come out last year.
Right.
Because he was eligible to come out. He would have been the number one running back off the board last year. But, I mean, it didn't matter because it's actually better. It almost feels like it's a better thing that Travion stayed because you get to show the 1A, 1B style that he can play in at the next level because he's going to be a really good football player.
It reminds me of the lines with Montgomery and Gibbs.
Yeah.
I think I had asked y'all about it because I was complaining because I have Gibbs or had Gibbs on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
And I was like, why can't he get it all? And y'all were kind of like, he's better this way.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
again, he had 4 touchdowns against the Vikings.
But that will regress.
Right.
He's almost like
norm,
I will explain to a lot of people, but I don't know how good Jahmyr Gibbs is on his own.
Yeah.
He might be Tony Pollard, truly. But I think he's better than that, obviously. But I just mean like that style, like where Tony Pollard sucked when Zeke left and things like that. So it's just one of those things where we just have to see. But both of these guys, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, both guys that we're going to talk about a lot. Emeka Ibuka, another guy we'll talk about when draft season comes on. On the other side, there's guys we'll be talking about too. Tez Johnson, Jordan. I don't know if Jordan James is going to come out.
He declared already.
Did he?
It was
Okay,
either
great.
this morning or yesterday he declared.
I love that because he is a true junior. He is the youngest player, I believe, in the class.
Yesterday he declared.
Perfect. Yeah, he's the youngest player in the class. He'll be 20.9 years old when next season starts. So he's one of the ones that I'm really excited to talk about because I think he's a little overlooked.
Yeah.
Him and Dylan Sampson are extremely young guys.
Yeah.
And they're both guys that I think could push, because this draft class is so deep. There's a lot of things we can talk about with those guys too. And then defensively, both teams have got players. There's players all over the field in this game.
Yeah.
But one team showed up, one team did not. 500 total yards for Ohio State. I think that was pretty solid. And then, Oregon tried to come back, but it was so far gone. I was surprised that Ohio State didn't put their backups in, actually, earlier. So they did not put a single offensive backup in the game, which is crazy to me.
If I was them, if I'm up 34-0, like Will Howard, Travion, y'all aren't touching the field. Get off. You're done. Jeremiah?
Did not matter. Did not
Come
matter.
over here. Make a hot tea, whatever you need.
Right. But we'll go on to the next game. It's going to be Notre Dame and Georgia. This game was actually one of the most interesting games in my personal opinion, just for how it kind of played out. Because truly, I thought Georgia looked better. I thought Georgia was the better team, like in this game for the most part. When I was just watching, both defenses came to play. First off, and Gunnar Stockton, he had no offensive line, none,
which is crazy.
He looked really good, and I was really excited about what he was doing on the field, rather than. Of course, he couldn't, he was getting just absolutely attacked by that defensive line.
All the drops, which have plagued Georgia all year, did not help either to get it into a rhythm.
Thank you. Yeah, no, there was so many things that were actually just pitted against him, but
Yeah.
he played well,
Yep.
which was a really good thing in my personal opinion.
Yeah, good for him.
He was 20 for 32 for 234 and a touchdown.
Hmm.
He was moving the ball. I know that they fumbled, and this is something I wanted to bring up. So Georgia shot themselves in the foot, basically.
A couple
Um,
times.
on the third drive of the game, 13 plays, 71 yards, 7 minutes of time off the clock. Big play.
Beautiful drive.
Big drive. Yeah. They fumble the ball on the 10-yard line. Trevor Etienne fumbles it,
Yep.
and Notre Dame gets it. And that was really tough because that was like the best drive of the whole game, possibly. And then, fumble with 39 seconds left in the half
Yep.
on the Georgia 12-yard line. And that really, really hurt them
Yep.
because then it went to, okay, touchdown Notre Dame. They're up 13-3.
Yep.
Really tough. And they get the ball in the second half. Well, guess what happens when the second half starts?
Didn't take long for
No. 98-yard touchdown return by Jaden Harrison. I mean, and then it's 20-3. But before, if you take away that little section, I think Georgia looks better. They've been driving the ball. They've been able to do things, and that really. And it wasn't like Notre Dame just came out and then was like had momentum. They scored 3 more points in the rest of the whole game.
Yeah.
So Georgia kind of shot themselves in the foot. I actually thought they looked better. They had more total offense in the game. They just those 2 turnovers kicked them in, really killed them. And then their rushing offense was just not there. They couldn't do it. I will say that the run offense for Notre Dame, that 154, 80 of it is accredited to Riley Leonard.
Yep.
They ran Jeremiah Smith Jeremiah Love. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Jeremiah Love 6 total times. I don't know what you're game planning here.
Freeman's a defensive guy.
Run the ball with your best players. Price is good.
To
10,
be fair, he
10
kind of
touches.
did. Riley Leonard, that's kind of what he was known for at Duke, was throw it, but if you can't, and you probably can't because you're
Right.
not accurate, please just run and take a hit, get injured, come back in 3 plays. For whatever reason, he just does that a lot. So
Yeah.
that guy's an absolute gamer, incredibly tough.
I just think when most people are going to look at this game and they're going to be like, oh, Georgia just got handled by Notre Dame. That's not really what happened here, in my personal opinion.
I definitely don't think it was that. I do think Notre Dame looked more put together, but I think that's mainly because, again, Georgia had a freshman starting. And,
Yeah.
Lots of injuries, lots of chaos going on. And
Right, but
that's what happens.
my problem is the freshman isn't what deterred this game. It was everybody else. All
Well,
the other positions hurt them.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion.
I mean,
Not catching the ball,
at
offensive line.
on offense all year, this looked like the worst Georgia team I've seen Kirby Smart have in
Fair.
at least 5-6 years.
Yeah, they
Just
don't-
based off talent and cohesion.
They don't have a Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
They don't have a
no.
Lad McConkey.
It felt like they never really got it going. And I think Carson Beck, as much as he had his downfalls this year and poor decision making and errant throws, he was kind of the field manager that was able to hold it all together. Like, hey guys, we're still Georgia, we're good enough. Let's
Right.
keep it moving. You get a true freshman in there, he can't just keep it all together. He did his best. It also doesn't help when you walk too far out on the sideline.
Right.
Ideally,
Yeah, that was not good
don't
either.
do that, and definitely not if you're in your hoodie and get your face all over Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. And
Fair.
felt really bad for that guy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Offensive player of the game. There is none. Everybody would probably put Riley Leonard in
I would
there.
pick Riley Leonard personally.
But at the same time, I don't think he was a game changer on offense. If I really put anybody in there, sure, put Jaden Harrison in there, fine.
Sure.
But like they scored on the 12-yard line. Like I'll actually pull the play-by-play up so that I can see where they actually started their drives when they scored touchdowns because I know none of there might have been one that was actually full field. You know what I mean?
Right.
One play, 13 yards. Nope, that was the touchdown after. Yeah.
Fumble.
And then let's see the next touchdown. Oh, they didn't have any more.
No, they got
kicked-
field goals.
yeah, I
The
was gonna
rest,
say.
8 plays 49 yards, 8 plays 29 yards.
Yeah.
The rest are the 1 play 13 and 2 plays 16.
So I really didn't
think that's
feel
fair.
comfortable giving a offensive player of the
Yeah.
game to anybody.
I mean, I think the answer is Riley Leonard, but not in the Jeremiah Smith type of way.
Right.
So
I actually
he managed it. He did really well. Won him the game. Good. You're definitely not going on SportsCenter top 10 for
No,
it,
yeah, fair,
but
fair.
you did win the game and held it together.
I think if I had to put something up there, it should be changed from offensive player of the game to special teams players of the game.
Yeah.
Because Mitch Jeter, 3 for 3
Yep.
from field goal and 2 for 2 extra points, and then you had, of course,
Finally,
Jaden
kickers
Harris,
getting extra
Jaden Harrison. Yeah, there you go. We'll get a kicker in
all
there.
time.
Jaden Harrison, then getting his kickoff return.
Yeah.
Defensive player of the game was a little harder because they did play great on defense.
Yeah.
I put Junior Tuahalamaka,
Yep.
who is was able to get, of course, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, and then he also
1 sack, but
sorry,
2
1
tackles
sack,
for loss.
2 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
He also though had the big fumble recovery on the 12-yard
Yeah.
line that it sparked some Irish scoring because they
Well,
needed some help.
Essentially, that's like you said, that 5 minutes of or 2 minutes of
Yeah.
game time.
Yeah.
More like 30 minutes in real life, but
Yeah, it was like 48 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
of game time.
that essentially ended the game, considering Georgia only had 10. So
Exactly. I put down here what beat Georgia. 2 turnovers, no turnovers by Notre Dame. Field position turnovers too, not good ones.
Right.
Running game 154-66. Stopping Riley Leonard was the trick, and they couldn't do it. And then
crazy. It's not like he's the fastest guy.
I don't get it either. Total sacks also. I just wanted to point this one out also. Georgia only had 1 sack in the whole game.
Which is crazy for a Georgia defense.
Michael Williams, the guy that we all want to talk about as one of the top edges, he literally wasn't there.
He had a tackle.
Okay.
He's on the stat sheet.
I'm glad he's on the stat sheet because I thought he might not have played if he didn't get that 1 tackle.
And it's like when you put the guys in at the end and they catch 1 rebound in basketball, and it's like, hey, you made the stat sheet, honey.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, he could have been an opt out. I might not have literally seen him on here and been like, I wonder if he actually played because I never saw him in the game.
Yeah.
I didn't feel his presence by any means. So that's kind of how I feel. I think Georgia, had the opportunity to win this game and they didn't.
Yeah. No, for sure. They definitely had the opportunity.
Yeah, and then going on to the next one, we have the Fiesta Bowl. I don't know what teams are thinking allowing Penn State to go up by 14 because it's really hard. It's really hard to come back.
Yeah. Especially against James Franklin, who's a very good game manager.
Yeah,
When
great.
he's got the lead.
Yeah, and great defensive mind
Right.
when it comes to the guys that he gets out there and stuff like that. It was really surprising that was how this game started out. And of course, we have to talk about Ashton real quick because everybody wanted to see him in a game like this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Oregon this time; it was Penn State. He had 30 rushes for 104 yards, 3.5 yards a rush, but he lost a fumble. That was really tough.
He fumbled again, but he got that one back, or
Lineman jumped on it. Yeah. Just some things to talk about. First 2 possessions for Penn State were touchdowns.
Yeah.
They literally came out
And
firing.
stomped on him too.
Yeah.
It was not every down was 3rd down and barely getting it. They
Coming after
looked like there was no answer.
Yeah. Drew was just okay. 13 of 25, 171, 3 touchdowns. Sounds great, but he was 45 for his QBR.
I mean, it's one of those, he didn't have to be anything better than that, though.
No, I agree.
He knows he's got Katron Allen and Nick Singleton.
That's
all
all
he had to do
yeah.
is not lose the game. And he did great at that.
Yeah. I mean, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton combined for 29 rushes, 221 yards, and touchdown. They are, and those asterisks above their names means that they're returning. They've already done this. Jeremiah Smith, both Katron Allen and Nick Singleton were offensive players of the game in the first game. I left both of them up there because absolutely deserving for 7.3 yards per attempt and 7.9.
Sure.
But I wanted to put Tyler Warren in there. He was the guy that scored the touchdowns. He was doing really great when it came to the red zone.
Both on really good footwork plays too.
Exactly. Yeah, no, he looked really good. He's a guy that is kind of a wild card at the position for the 2025 draft. A lot of people have him as number 1. Some people have him as number 3.
As far as tight end.
Tight end, yeah. And so we're gonna have a conversation about that, but he's
still
very
fan
excited.
of Junior, but
Well,
that's a whole
can't overlook Colson Loveland either.
True. Out of Michigan.
Yeah, they're all good players.
No, absolutely.
Boise State did try to come back though, and that was good to see.
It's nice to see they didn't just roll over. It was unfortunate because it really seemed like I was watching like a Disney movie of, they're they're almost getting back in
Yeah.
it. And then it was like every time they would, it was an offensive flag of some kind or shooting themselves in the foot, or they get down and then take a 10-yard sack. It's like, well, this was fun, but
Right.
looks like the Disney lights are turning off now. So
Yeah. It was 17-14, and then the second half started.
yeah,
And just to like preface this, at that point there was one turnover by Boise State, and you can tell there's four.
yeah.
The last four drives of the game, three interceptions and a missed field goal by Boise State, and it's just that's what did it.
Well,
That's what kind of did them in. Is like they just
yeah.
couldn't hold on to the ball, and then they missed the field goal, and then it was really easy for Penn State to just say, "Hey, run our best guys out of the backfield over and over and over."
Well, not to mention coming out of the gates, firing, already knowing you're the underdog, and then absolutely shanking a kick to the next county over did not start them off on the right foot. So
Yeah. So, but also another thing I want to add: Penn State looked really good at the beginning and really good at the end. I don't know that I thought they were really good in the middle.
no, that was my Disney moment.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
hey,
see
look,
what you're
they
saying.
have a
I see what you're
The
saying.
fourth quarter started, and it was like, just kidding, change the channel.
Very Space Jam esque of you.
It would have been fun. I mean, yeah. Is there a good football one? I don't have a good football one for this, actually.
Yeah, for this, I don't know. No, Friday Night Lights, they still lost.
They did.
No,
It's also
let's.
not a happy.
It's not. It's
Absolutely.
but a lot of players, and Maddox Matson should get a little bit of a shout out for the first half of his game, and the second half, the three interceptions hurt, but he was pushing the ball down the field, 53-yard long, 45-yard long, trying to push this team. So
Well,
that was good to see.
This is one of those situations where you have to contextualize those picks too. So two of them, again, like you said, in the second half, the team's down. You're in the playoff. You're not playing for a Heisman spot here or
Right.
being a free agent for a new contract. As much as we talk about with NIL and stuff, this is a guy who went out and said, "Well, if I throw a pick, oh no." But if I don't and it works out, we have a chance to come back against the team we were favored or not favored, predicted to lose.
11 points.
Yeah, by two anyway. So why not go for it?
Fair.
Which I'm a big fan of. Kind of like when I said with SMU, why not just throw in Preston Stone at some point? Like do something. You're down 5 scores or however much it was in their playoff game.
Yeah.
I love to see a team fight like that. A guy who just doesn't care about the stats and yeah, sure, I'm gonna try to win.
No, I completely agree. It was it made it interesting there in the middle.
Yeah.
Of course, the hard part is like it just didn't go your way when you're
I mean, he was playing a better team.
Yeah, they were, yes. Top to bottom, better everywhere you
How it
look.
goes.
Yeah, 3 interceptions though, and that missed field goal, and the fourth quarter just was kind of glum for them because Penn State did score their final touchdown, and that was kind of the end of it, and just ran away with it. But fun game. I do want to give the shout out to our defense player of the game because we haven't talked about him yet. That is Zakee Wheatley. 3 total tackles, but he had the interception and a fumble recovery, so he had 2 turnovers in the game, which was really good to see. And they have guys top to bottom. This is a guy we don't talk about that often, so why not throw him up there and give him some camera time? But very exciting game coming up between Penn State and Notre Dame, who we just talked about. That game is going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun game to talk about. Going on to the next one. This game was a fun game. And the emotional roller coaster of a Texas fan for this game.
Well, even for an Arizona State fan.
Well, fair. Anybody fan of
watching
this
the game.
game. I'm just in there laughing, enjoying myself, drinking the tea. But this game was absolutely insane. I do, and as you can see, the offensive player of the game is Cam Scatterbo.
100%. There's no question.
There's no other answer, truly.
No, there's not.
I just want to read his stats to everybody. 30 rushing attempts for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns, 8 receptions for 99 yards, and then 1 pass for 42 yards and a touchdown.
Beautifully underthrown pass.
Absolutely.
Right where you want it.
I mean, you couldn't have wrote a better script, honestly.
QBR.
282 yards for this guy, just like allotted for. He just
It's awesome.
went crazy.
Yeah.
Which is great. He's a guy we'll talk about as one of our running backs. He has vaulted himself based on this year into the top 10, possibly top 5 running backs at the players at the position. Just doing the right things and shaking his head a little bit, but running hard, and love to see it.
Yeah.
Multiple touchdowns throughout the game. I actually have wrote down a lot about him and what he was able to do. So we'll get into that, but just what I just want to hear what you have to say about this game, honestly.
I mean, so I was watching it in the first quarter when Arizona State went down and kicked their field goal.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. They're coming out and playing something. I was texting my dad and I was like, if Texas scores quickly, I think this game gets ugly quickly. And then they went down and scored in 2 plays. And I was like, well, that'll do it.
And then
And then for whatever reason, Texas just like failed to launch after that. Like,
well, after
they-
the touchdown, they did score the return,
right.
the punt return, which was really cool. to
Yeah.
watch.
And then it was punt, downs, field goal, downs, punt, and missed field goal into half. So 17-3 at halftime, which I was still like, okay, it's a 2 touchdown game. Texas is controlling this. And Arizona State at that point looked like they had no offense
Right.
at all. So I was like, okay, yep, I was right. Texas is winning easily. And then the second half, the safety happened, and I was like, what just happened? How does Texas make that mistake of all teams?
Well, I will, give Arizona State some credit or Texas some credit on that before we go on, because they did get a goal line stand right before that. That's what
Right,
put
that's
the
why
ball
they
on
were
the
there.
2-yard line.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was not a very good play
It was
call.
crazy.
Not a very good play call.
Then, I mean, we can jump through the hoops of the touchdowns and 2-point conversion, touchdown, 2-point conversion, which was Cam Scadaboo just going absolutely nuts for like 30 straight minutes.
Yes.
And then, in overtime, when Arizona State took the lead, I was like, okay, Texas is going to come down. We're going to do 3 overtimes. This is going to be interesting. And then the play call heard around the world of send everybody against one of the best offensive linemen or line groups in the country and get no pressure on Quinn Ewers.
Wide open
And you've got a wide open
seam
guy. Yeah.
on
right down the
4th
middle.
and 13.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that is. I literally was, and
So-
I was actually, because at that point I was really invested.
Of course. I think everyone was.
Yeah, I was in it, but I was like, "Oh my god, that's such a bad play call."
Yeah.
That's all I could think. I was like, "Oh my god, what are they doing?" Like
Yeah.
they hadn't done that all game. It felt look, they might have run it a couple times, but like
mean,
not at that moment with that. Like you have to have some balls.
Get what you're trying to do. It's 4th and 13. The idea is get pressure before,
Make them throw it fast.
yeah, before they have time to even develop the route. But you're playing Texas, and you've come back in this game and gotten to this point. Play it safe. Trust
No,
your-
I don't think playing it safe is the right term here.
Well, I'm not saying drop 8 back,
No,
but what I'm saying is run the defense you've been running. Go to more of a pass game.
say you run an extra rusher.
Yeah.
You run 5
Yeah.
instead of
Right.
8.
That's
it's like
fine.
engage 8 on the video
Yeah.
games, bro. It was crazy.
I was
No,
like,
but
wait,
like,
why did they send everyone? No.
yeah, you could run 5 there and play
Yeah.
cover 2 with man underneath,
Right.
and still have 2 levels
Yeah.
to everything.
And you were fine.
But that's not what happened.
No. Yeah,
For
when I
2
was
plays in a
I
row.
was watching it, and Grace was on the couch, and I was like, "Oh no, they didn't just do that." I was like, "Yeah, why would?" Yeah,
It didn't, like, every person I think thought the same thing
Yeah.
we thought. Like, they really? That's the play call?
yeah,
Because there was no way that was going to work, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Touchdown to Matthew Golden.
yeah.
Beautiful throw, was
Hope he can
easy,
make a throw to
very
the wide
easy.
open guy down the middle.
Then the next play, another beautiful throw to Gunnar Helm. So really, I know that people give Quinn a lot of hate. He actually really didn't play bad in this game
I don't know.
at all. So
Quinn did fine.
really, who didn't play well is their running game. I love
Shocking.
looking at the win probability of this game. I don't know
One of
if
those ones.
if you've seen it, but it's literally like,
Yep.
and I'm just like, because they were 91.2% for Arizona State on 4th and 13, and then it jumps to 100% for Texas on the next play.
Well, what is it? What is that? 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Texas was a 99.9% win probability.
Yeah. Why not?
When Arizona State was 3rd and 10 at the 50, and then it went crazy.
It was wildest game I've
Right.
ever seen. Texas, though, they leave. This is something we continuously talk about. Georgia, A&M. Let's go back to the A&M game, because I know you hate
We don't
talking.
have to.
I know you hate talking about it, but
There were other games.
Texas should have beat A&M by 4 touchdowns.
No, it should have been like 5.
Or okay, fine, thank you. Prove my point.
Well, to be fair, we gained one and they lost one on one play. So
Right,
that
right.
helped.
But I just
So
mean they should have beat them by multiple touchdowns.
no, they
One
should
by
have.
10.
It should. Yeah.
Georgia, they were 21 points better in the first quarter, first half.
You can call it first quarter.
You know what I mean, though.
It
Like
was then
early,
too.
very early.
Yeah.
Lose to them because they never got, I mean, what was it, 6-6 at halftime in that game? And then
Yeah.
never got it going. Now, Arizona State and Clemson was actually coming back too, but they shut the door. They actually did well in that. Arizona State, though, they decided, oh, well, let's, we'll just take our foot off the gas. And Arizona State's like, well, fine. We're just going to score 23 points in the second half and make this a game.
Yeah, we just won't.
Or 21
do
points in the
that.
second half. Yeah. And I'm like, what is happening? Texas. No one's watching that actually cares about what I'm saying from Texas. I know that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But y'all have to put your foot on the neck and just keep pushing until the game is over.
Yeah.
Y'all should look like Penn State against Boise State. You should look like, well, I mean, Ohio State doesn't really count because they go up by 30 points in the first quarter. But like you need to look like a team that is dominant for 4 full quarters.
Yeah.
And they haven't looked like that in a long time. They have not looked like a dominant team in a long time.
No.
And I just don't think, we'll talk about it in a second, but like they have to go play Ohio State. This is the game
Yeah.
that just probably will decide who wins the Natty. And you almost lose to Arizona State in a game that was super emotional. Same amount of turnovers, way less yards. Texas did not deserve to win this game.
No.
Not even kind of. They won on 4th and 13 and the next play, and we put defensive player of the game, Andrew Makuba, because he got the pick to seal it. Absolutely deserving player. We had to put him on here, but I mean, someone had to go up there.
Yeah, I mean, in a 39-31 game, there's very few people who deserve.
I think
defensive play.
Makuba is a guy that I would love to give
He
it
made
to.
a fantastic laying out play. No, he deserves it. 100%.
Before that interception, Arizona State, no turnovers.
Yeah.
I just think that's another thing is Texas has to create more turnovers, especially against a team like Ohio State.
No.
They've done it. They've done a good job of that during the year. Only 3 sacks for Texas this game. Now, I know Sam Leavitt moves a lot, but he had 46 attempts. You should get to him more than 3 times.
Yeah.
You have good pass rushers. There's a lot of things that this game didn't go well for Texas, and they still won. One of the biggest things, though, was their run game. I was really surprised that they only got 53 rushing yards.
Yeah, that was against Arizona State defense.
Exactly.
That's surprising.
1.8 yards per average. That's just not good enough.
No.
So I think
it's not.
that's a really big thing in this game for me. So hopefully they get that figured out because they're going to need it in the next game. But let's go on to the next game. We're going to talk about our predictions. And as you can see, those numbers up there have changed a little bit. Notre Dame is now power ranking 3rd, but I know that a couple of things have changed throughout their different things. Which side of this game are you on? Which side of the spread are you on? Let's hear it.
I am on Notre Dame side, and I would say, I mean, based on that, covering the spread,
Fair.
I don't think it's going to be a 1 or 2 point game. I think it'll be close. I think this will be a fairly low scoring game, something in the 27-24, 24-21. Both teams get an explosive touchdown or two, both do their long, daunting 10-minute drive, and then fourth quarter, one of them is able to pull it off. I think Notre Dame just has the better team overall. I love their defense. I love Penn State's too. I love Notre Dame's a little bit more. Okay. And I honestly think Riley Leonard and Drew Aller are very similar, but Drew Aller can throw better, but Riley Leonard can just absolutely game better. I think if Riley Leonard doesn't get hurt, because like I said, they kind of tell him to just run if he feels like it, and he dives head first for some reason, then I think that Notre Dame wins it, assuming all health and he can keep his head on straight.
I'm on the other side. I'm picking Penn State to win this game. I love the dynamic duo that's in the backfield for Penn State.
Absolutely.
I love the play calling way more for Penn State in this last game.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is, too, I did really think Notre Dame could have lost that game against Georgia with a backup quarterback and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I would say that Georgia's defense is better than Penn State's defense at this point.
Sure.
I think both teams have a lot of good things going for them defensively in this game. I think Notre Dame does have the better defense. I think it all starts, though, with the defensive line. And the real problem for me, you look at Notre Dame and what they're built on. Well, what about the players that really kind of make a difference? And I'm gonna grab some names because, of course, like we have the big names: Xavier Watts, Jack Kaiser, these guys that are huge names. But Riley Mills, I don't believe will be playing in this game, and that's truly the biggest hit. He was injured. Did he play last game? Yeah, please let me know because he really got hurt in that game earlier. Let's see, in against Indiana, but I can't remember. I know he didn't play against Georgia. I wouldn't expect him to play. I thought he was out for the year, which would be a huge blow in a game where you need him in this game like this, where they're running the ball, getting after it, and then all things aside, I think the pass rush is, and Georgia couldn't stop Riley Leonard getting out of the pocket. We talked about that already, but I think that this team in Penn State can, with Abdul Carter and Denny Sutton. So
yeah, Riley Mills is out.
Okay,
he will not be playing.
Exactly, and I think he's one of the, weirdly enough, he's probably the biggest impact on that team.
Yeah,
just because he literally takes away multiple blockers.
Yeah,
on every play. So give me Penn State. They will cover, obviously, because it's minus 2.5. So, yeah, that's how I kind of feel about it. I think that it's a really close, fun game, though. This is the game of the week, for sure.
I think you and I and a lot of true football enjoyers will really like it. I think the average couch fan who goes, I want to see an electrifying playoff game, may be kind of bored, to be honest. But that's because that's how both teams are. They're both grit and grind. They're not here to make flashy plays.
Great defense.
Yeah, great defense.
Run the
You're
ball.
not going to get big flashy plays more than likely. You might see some fun defensive plays like we saw against Georgia.
Sure.
But, I mean, we're not going to see the Arizona State Texas. I don't think we'll see an Arizona State Texas back and forth, halfback throws, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think the more electrifying teams are in the other game.
I was about to say that one's going to be a fun one.
But at the same time, I'd still rather, I think that this game will be closer and more fun to watch for that reason.
I think it'll be a great game.
So,
but the people who are here just for the offense, may not have the best time.
I mean, it's a 44.5 point over under.
Yeah,
and then 53.5 for the Texas game, Texas Ohio State game.
Well, like I said, 24-21 is my prediction. Ends up at that 45. I'm just calling out Vegas here.
I want to say it's going to be...
Actually, I just gave the implied final.
It's going to be 21-17.
Okay, yeah.
Is what I think.
So you're just taking away the touchdown I added?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm putting it... The other team's winning, so...
Yeah, but you're still giving me, say, 21.
Yeah. So, I guess, to me...
Sorry, Penn State's kicker.
It's a close game.
Apparently, you're not going to be used very much.
Sorry, bud. But yeah, no, it's a close game. It's a fun game. I don't know.
No, I'm excited.
And they're both. This one will be Thursday, January 9th at 6:30, and then or Central Time. I don't know where you're at if you're watching, but and then Ohio State's the next day. But both games are exciting. Almost thought about going to the game in Arlington. That would have been a really fun game to go to.
I know a couple people going.
Yeah, that would have been a really fun game. Let's talk about it though. Let me grab it. And
am I giving my prediction first again?
I can go first.
If you want to. I think we have the same prediction, to be honest.
What, 3 touchdowns to Ohio State?
Yeah. I was going to give them 2, but if you want to go 3, sure.
I mean, I can't trust UT. You know what's funny? I think that UT is the perfect matchup for Ohio State. They have all the ability to play with Ohio State. If you just look at roster versus roster.
Yeah.
Texas has the closest roster to ability-wise that Ohio State. Ohio State is the best roster in the nation. That's not a question.
Sure.
Texas is second for sure, in my opinion. Offensive line's good. Secondary's good. Defensive line has been good. They have stars at every level on defense.
Yep.
Running back, Wisner's looked great. Blue has ability in the pass game. Receiving-wise, there's a couple guys that have been playing above their ability, probably. Yep. Gunnar Helm is good.
Yep.
But I can't trust Sark and Quinn.
No, I agree.
At all.
I agree.
at all. Which
I
one you decide to get mad at, fine. It doesn't really matter to me who you dislike. I don't like them together.
yeah.
Period. And so I just can't trust Texas. But they have the roster that can play with Ohio State. So if they come out and go up by 2 touchdowns, it wouldn't surprise me. It's just not going to stick.
Yeah, and it's one of those where Texas is, like we were saying earlier, they can't keep the foot on the gas pedal. And against Ohio State, if you do that, you can go from being up 2 touchdowns to down 3 just
Really
as
quick.
quickly.
Really quick.
So, like I said, I'm on the same page. Ohio State winning. I'm not going to go 3 touchdowns to Ohio State. I'll give them 2.
Okay, well, you knew what I meant though. Like
Yeah.
let's exaggerate the fact that Ohio State
Ohio
is just
State
the
covering.
best team in college football.
Yeah.
And they're going to win this game.
Yeah, and I don't know. Texas has early in the season, I truly thought Texas had a good chance of winning the Natty with how dominant they were. And then it's like at the second half to later season, they, like you said, they just lost that killer instinct, or at least if they didn't lose it, they haven't shown it.
Got whooped by Georgia in the middle of the season.
True. And I don't know if that, Ohio State did the thing where they got a lot better after a loss, and Texas kind of did the opposite of we found our ceiling and I guess we're okay with it.
Well, I think the thing with Texas too is they had the easiest SEC schedule out of any other team.
Yeah.
So they did play, they didn't necessarily play the top 5 SEC teams except for Georgia twice. And that kind of set them up for success.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
that's why, they're a 2-loss team, only losing to Georgia.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the only good team they played is Georgia.
Yeah.
And of course, Arizona State. Well, I guess Arizona State's good. And Arizona State almost beat them.
I mean, Arizona State is still on my 10th though.
No, yeah, exactly.
They were only 3rd because of the mandatory bias, which are likely now going to be changed.
Yeah,
based on
which
some
they should be. Yeah.
I agree.
But so you have to play the number 4 team, but it's not really the number 4 team. You have to play Clemson, who was actually power ranked like 18th or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
So okay, Texas, you're about to get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
And we'll see if they can respond.
Yeah.
Because truly, they have the O-line to do it. They have the defense to do it. But I just worry about the other positions that I need to play well.
Everything else.
Yeah, because Quinn, if he gets hit by Jack Sawyer, who is, baby Bosa, it's going to be a problem. He's going to feel it. And that guy has two sacks in the last 2 games, or 2 sacks per game.
I guarantee we will hear from our friends or other family or otherwise asking, why isn't Arch playing? Bring in Arch? Somebody's going to do it.
I want everybody to go back and remember when Arch played, how good he was.
I'm not saying that.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm telling you what I've heard from Texas fans every single time Quinn faces the slightest bit of adversity.
Well, it's because Quinn folds under adversity. He has one of the best arms in college football. And there's a reason he was considered a top 10 draft pick.
95% of the time. And then 5% for whatever reason, he just throws it to the defense instead.
Yeah, he pre-reads. I don't know what that's about. Like, Sark, are you telling him, like, hey, this guy is who you're throwing to no matter what?
Speaking of Sark, what are our thoughts on the NFL speculations, if you've heard of those going around?
Sure.
I know nothing about it, or I've not heard any insider.
Sark's offense doesn't. I don't think Sark's offense is a NFL style offense at all. So
I don't like screens on every other play.
No, I just don't think it will not translate.
Yeah.
It's like trying to put Lane Kiffin in the NFL.
Right.
We tried that, remember?
Yeah.
And it didn't go well.
Didn't go well.
Thank God he went to the Raiders, right?
Shout out Pete Carroll for figuring that out.
Well, Pete Carroll though, Pete Carroll was like, "Hey, we're going to lean on defense."
Yeah.
Well,
he did well. I mean, he's one of the few to win championships at both levels.
Jim Harbaugh going up there and he's looking good, winning
again.
Yeah, he's
made a Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying that's the type of guy, you relate.
I love Jim Harbaugh.
There's just a lot of issues.
In a goofy way.
Yeah, I know for sure. Both brothers, I like them both. But there's just some issues with Sark's offense, in my opinion, that does not relate to the NFL game.
I just thought it was funny these rumors come out right now. Whoever wanted to leak that first, but I was watching, was it ESPN, I think, Sunday morning, and they were like, and new rumors, Sarkisian to the NFL. I was like, stop. Who started this?
Who wants him? That's the real question. Because truly, the reason Sark is so good, and we'll say this on the air, it's big. It's getting big, right? the reason Sark is so good at coaching, right? It's not because he's a great play caller or any of that. It's because he's a great recruiter.
No,
Dude is an amazing recruiter.
yeah,
He has had multiple first overall classes,
yeah,
transfer portal, and so that's what really gets him all these, this ability to get there. But can he put it together? We talk about James Franklin all the time.
yeah.
They have the best weight room process ever. That is Penn State's head coach, if you don't know. They have one of the best weight room
How
process.
much we've ragged on him.
Yeah.
I think it's hopefully known by now.
Talk a lot enough shit about him, but they have such a good weight room program.
Yeah.
At Penn State. Oh, Saquon, Micah Parsons. Yeah. Like there's names across the board, right? Right. And so that's why they do so well. Yeah. He recruits well, but that's what he is good at. Yep. Is his weight room program. Yep. In my personal opinion, because he hasn't won any titles, so you can't say he's good at winning.
Right.
So what is Sark good at? Well, he's good at recruiting. But he needs an offensive coordinator that's there to talk with him about hey, we want to do this. We want to do this. How can we relate this? Also, why are we one reading with Quinn? Why are we forcing the ball short with Quinn? Quinn's got a really good arm. He fades away from throws. There's a lot of things. I'm like, why are these things not being fixed?
I've said this multiple times, and we just found out Curtis Rourke, the Indiana QB, played the entire season on a torn ACL, which was not the injury that kept him out for a game. That was his thumb, which was shredded apart. I've said this several weeks ago, dating back to the Oklahoma game. I don't know that Quinn ever fully healed.
That's fair.
From his abdominal injury. And an abdominal injury, like I've said, is one where you can't just say you have a knee injury, you wake up in the morning, just, don't lean on the knee, do your stretches or whatever the program, PT, or have your brace on, depending, blah, blah, blah. You can't just do stuff without using your abs and your back. Yeah. You have to use those for every movement you use. And there may also be another injury. I know his ankle has been bummed too. I'm interested to see after the year if anything comes out of oh yeah, by the way, I was playing on a blah 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 all year or whatever, and that's why all of a sudden he doesn't make the deep throws near as much or
that's fair.
As often.
Yeah. Disclaimer: Dustin is a PA, so he does have the right to talk about this. I do not.
Also, disclaimer: not medical advice. No medical advice will be provided here.
Or
Please
betting. No gambling advice either.
Definitely not that.
We don't do that either. But yeah, so I just think with Quinn, his issue is mental. Yeah. Very mental issues. Yep. And yeah, maybe Arch is a better situational player. You can bring him in for certain things.
Sure.
But
yeah, those goal line
he's not the answer.
You want to run a triple option? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Why not mix it up?
He's not he's got great athleticism and legs, but this has been the best thing for him is to sit for 2 years. Yeah. 100%. Absolutely the best thing. I actually now next year, everybody's gonna be like, yeah, they should have played him over Quinn. I'm like, last year, if they would have played him over Quinn, he wouldn't have been as good. Yeah. This is the year he needed to play.
I mean, we're kind of seeing it with Nico at Tennessee.
Right.
Maybe if he had one more year to develop, got out of that lanky body.
Not 18.
Yeah. Just had another year, it would have been better. Mm-hmm. The problem is we also get the guys like Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams, where Ryan Williams is 17 and just looks amazing and goes, why couldn't someone else do that? It's you have to realize that's not normal.
Yeah, no. Well, some people I think do. Some people do realize that.
Some do.
But take a Cam Scadaboo, who we just talked about. Yeah. And I'm gonna stop sharing so you can we can talk about the end of this. But take Cam Scadaboo. This dude is 4 years in the program, not very good to start out, builds himself up to be the guy that he is now. Yeah. Doesn't even look the part at all, in my personal opinion. Yeah. He just runs hard and does the right things.
Shakes his head.
But in quarterback is a lot harder than that obviously, but at the same time, it has the same preference. You have to build yourself up. Even if you're a high recruit, these guys are men. Yeah. They're grown men.
They've had years in these new, like you said, the Penn State.
Yeah, it was exactly who I was going to say.
This isn't even your nicest Texas weight room in the high school is not 1/4 of what Penn State has on a daily basis.
And what they're doing in those weight rooms.
They have coaching nutrition they have going on.
The amount of weight they are moving. Yeah, no, and Taylor's talked about it because she went to Texas and they used to bust these guys into class.
Oh, we use golf carts at A&M.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they would bring them into class with their food, with their protein, all the things. They have
Those golf carts were scraping on the back when the lineman had to get to physics. Or
exactly.
class.
And so you just have to realize like there is a complete difference between a high school kid and a college football player who's
Yeah.
been there for a couple years. If you're a junior in college, the amount that your body has gone through is just insanely different.
Yeah.
Now, yes, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Wood, big difference. But Arch is now, going to be ready to go
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah.
He has also could be the number 1 overall draft pick the year next year
Wouldn't surprise me.
because, he will only have 1 season of starting, but he will have so much time
Yeah.
of learning behind a good quarterback. We can all
Yeah.
talk shit about Quinn all you want. He is a good quarterback
Yeah.
at the college level.
Absolutely.
He has won. He had 2 losses last year. He had 2 losses this year so far. Like he has won lots of games. It's
Yeah.
a really good mental, conversation to have with a guy that's younger than you.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, then you also have your uncles and stuff like that. But like
Yeah.
it's going to be better
Got
for him
pretty good lineage.
to sit and then play
Absolutely.
in the coming year after all that. So that's my spiel. I'm good with that.
I agree with 100%.
Thank you. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. This was actually a really fun episode. We are going to do one more before the season ends after these games, and then talking about the Natty because that's the only one left. There's only one game after this left. That the Natty will be on Monday, January 20th.
I hate that they do it on a Monday.
It's in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, so if Texas does win, good luck. They've had some issues in that stadium.
Yeah.
So, but we appreciate y'all hanging out with us, and I'm good. You have anything else?
No, thank y'all very much for joining us.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
Take care.